Hey guys, Victor here again, coming at you with another retro deck profile for the September 2011 format. And today's focus is going to be on Karakuri, which I honestly think is a really underrated deck, as it's able to easily put up 8k damage in OTK opponents without much of a struggle. So, with that out of the way, let's jump straight into the deck profile. So kicking off the monster lineup, we're going to be playing 3 Karakuri Ninishi. This is without a doubt the best monster in your main deck for pure Karakuri, because it pretty much does everything that you want it to do in a card, as first off, it's a tuner, and it's going to be our main tuner that we use to access our extra deck. 2, once per turn, and this is the most important part, while it's face up on the field, you get a 1 additional normal summon for a Karakuri monster. So if you open this plus another Karakuri, you have full combo pretty much every single time. And then lastly, it has 1900 defense, which is actually very relevant because it helps you stall against cards like Thunder King Ryo, which a lot of people do play and this deck does struggle against. So yeah, I definitely feel this is without a doubt the best normal summon in this deck, and it's an instant 3-0 for every pure Karakuri variant. And then after that, we're going to be playing 3 Karakuri Nisamu. I'm honestly not really that big of a fan of this just because of how slow it is. It's essentially just Pyramid Turtle, so whenever it's destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon a level 4 lower Karakuri monster from your deck, but it does have a lot of uses still, as just being able to wall your opponent and float into other resources. So we're going to be playing 3 of it. And then after that, we're only going to be playing 2 Karakuri Inashichis. What this card does is when it's normal summoned, you're able to add 1 Karakuri card from your deck to your hand. Not much to say, it's basically just a searcher, but I decided to only play 2 instead of 3, mainly because I played 3 Gen X Neutron, which you guys will see later, and it being level 2 with 500 attack means that it's going to be very easy to run over for most decks. And like I said earlier, Thunder King Ryo is also a very prevalent card, so having this in your hand, going second against the Thunder King Ryo is, it's pretty bad, honestly. But yeah, I just elected to play 2. And then after that, we're going to be playing 2 Karakuri Kuick, or Quick, however you prefer to pronounce it. And what this card does, it's basically recursion, so it's really helpful in the late game. And because it's able to destroy a monster by battle, and if you do, and you're able to send it to the graveyard, you can special summon one of your own Karakuris from the graveyard. So you can get cards such as your Ninishis, your Nisamus, whatever. Even your Inashichis, right? And just being able to get back those resources, especially late in the game, is invaluable. Because there are times where you're not able to OTK your opponent, so you gotta play like the resource game. And then lastly, for our last Karakuri 1-ups, we're just gonna play 1 Nishipachi and 1 Saizan. They're basically just additional tuners that help us go into other monsters in our extra deck, but yeah, they're still very good, so we play 1 of each. And that's it for the Karakuri lineup, but we still play a lot more monsters in the deck to help it flow better. Now, of course, we're going to be playing other monsters, as stated earlier, so we're going to be playing 3 Gen X Neutron, and I personally feel like this is a better Inashichi, just because of the fact that it's level 4, it has 1800 attack, so it can actually threaten other monsters, and during the end phase, it adds any machine-type tuner, so you can get your dog, you can get your Nishipachi, you can get your Ninishi, etc. Yeah, this card is just really good, and I definitely think 3 of is the way to go. And then after that, we're going to be playing something a little bit more controversial in 2 Thunder King Ryo. I opted to play this over cards such as like Cyber Dragon, just because I feel like having Thunder King in this format is just really good at helping you stun your opponent out and stalling for resources, or even by itself, Thunder King is sometimes more than enough to just straight up win the game. So yeah, just because of that, I'm going to be playing 2 Thunder King Ryo. And then we're going to be playing hand traps, so we're going to be playing the 2 Maxis and the 2 Effect Veilers, just staples that I include in every single deck. And then for our final monster, we're going to be playing the 1 Gores, the Emissary of Darkness. As I mentioned earlier, there are times where you're just not able to beat your opponent straight up, and this deck does struggle with mass removal, so if you get hit by like a Dark Hole or a Torrential, right, your board's pretty much gone and your opponent has free reign to try and OTK you back if they have the resources, or just set up like a menacing board. And because of that, we're going to be playing Gores as like extra insurance to help us out in the grind game. So yeah, I just selected to play the 1 Gores, but it's easily cuttable, and if anything, if you want, you could probably easily replace this with like an Inashichi, just to make that a 3 of if you really want to value like searching consistency, but I don't really care about that. I just want to be able to like actually live in case my attacks don't go through successfully. So yeah. And with that, that's the entire monster lineup, so now we can move on to the spell portion of the deck. So to start the spells off, we're going to be playing 3 Upstart Goblins, and I'm a really big fan of this card just because it helps boost our consistency to actually draw into our monsters instead of having to wait until the end phase of like Gen X Neutron or having to go Inashichi pass, right? Instead, we can just hopefully draw into them as soon as possible. And this card's also really good because it's basically an alternative to Potter Duality, which I really don't enjoy in this type of deck because you want to have the option to special summon every turn if you can. But yeah, and while you may think you don't want to give your opponent 1,000 life points because it makes it harder to OTK, this deck is very easily able to put up 10k, so even if you go through like 2 of your upstarts, you can still, like I said, you can still win the game straight up. So yeah, I just think the consistency that this card offers you is way more valuable than any potential drawbacks that it gives you. And then after that, we're going to be playing 2 instant fusions. So the reason we play 2 instant fusions is because we play Cybersaurus in the extra deck, and that's a level 5 machine, which means that it pretty much gives us instant access to our level 8s like Burrito or Stardust or whatever. And then I think this card's also really cool because it's able to bait out cards like Maxi before you invest too many resources, right? So you basically just turn this into a 1-for-1, and then if you get Maxi'd, it's fine. You can just set like a Ninishi or a Nisamu and just pass turn and then try again on the next turn. So this card has like a lot of really cool uses in this deck, and I definitely think it should be played in a lot of decks like Karakuri going forward. And then after that, this deck does struggle with back row, so we're going to be playing 2 Mystical Space Typhoon along with the 1 Heavy Storm, just to be able to clear everything to ensure that our monsters don't get, destroyed by Mirror Force, Torrential, Bottomless Warning, Solemn, whatever. You pretty much just have to main deck mass removal like this. And then for the rest of the spells, you can play the 1 Dark Hole, the 1 Book of Moon, the 1 Monster Reborn, and then lastly 1 Mind Control. I'm a really big fan of Mind Control just because there's so many tuners and your opponent's constantly going to have level 4s for you to take. Just like the sheer presence of things like Tengu and Thunder King, or even like your opponent's own tuners, like if you play against agents, right? You can take their Urits or their Venuses, whatever, and just synchro with them to continue climbing into your own cards. Just the amount of plays that this card alone offers you is invaluable. So with that, that's the spell lineup, and now we can finally move on to the trap portion of the deck. Now when it comes to the trap lineup for a deck like this, I decided to just keep it small for a variety of reasons, such as the main deck gores, and just this being more of a combo deck instead of a stun and stall deck. So because of that, we're going to be playing 2-dimensional prisons. This is the only battle trap that I play. I don't play Mirror Force, I don't play like Compulse, even Bottomless I don't really enjoy. I just feel like this card does everything that you want it to do by being able to banish key monsters, play around Stardust Dragon, all that stuff. And then we're going to be playing the Solemn Brigade, being 2 Solemn Warning and the 1 Solemn Judgment, just staples in pretty much every single deck at this point. And then for the final trap card, I opted to go with Torrential Tribute. I decided to go with Torrential Tribute just because if your opponent knows that you're playing Karakuri, that means that they're going to be more willing to invest more resources just to try and OTK you faster, because they know that if they let you survive for the next turn, the chances of them being OTK'd are actually pretty high, honestly, with this type of deck. So thanks to Torrential, we're able to pretty much make them waste all their resources, and it's way better than something like Trap Dust Shoot, which is still a really good card, but it's not as effective unless you're going first, for example. And there are times where you lose the die roll, and then something like Mirror Force isn't as good either, because it's very easy to get it off the board with cards like Caius, or have protection set up with like Stardust Dragon or Scrap Dragon, or just key cards like that. I'd much rather just go with the Torrential Tribute in pretty much every scenario. And so with that, that's the main deck. It's 40 cards as always, and now we can finally go on to the extra deck. Now when it comes to the extra deck, it's primarily synchro based since this is a synchro deck, but there are a couple of other key cards that we play, such as Chimera Tech Fortress Dragon, which pretty much helps us deal with any machine mirror matches, or even if our opponent has like for example, a Cyber Dragon on their side of the field that they just left up randomly, we're going to be able to use that for our contact fusion to make this and just OTK them a lot more easily. And then after that, we'll be playing 2 Cybersaurus. Since we play the 2 instant fusions, we play the 2 Cybersauruses because they essentially just give us access to any level 6 or higher synchro monster in our deck, which is pretty cool, especially if you only are able to open like a tuner like an Nishi and nothing else. So yeah, just a really cool card. And then after that, we're going to be playing 1 Allied Justice Cataster. Not much to say, just a generic level 5, that's good. But the other stars that are pretty easy to summon would be Naturia Beast and Naturia Barkion. Pretty much the entirety of this deck are Earth, with Earth Tuners, so these cards are incredibly easy to summon, especially in the Chiryu Beast, and it does help out when like you have like a weaker hand, for example, where you only open up the Ninishi and the Inashichi, for example, so you get the 2 summons, you search for next turn, and you make a Chiryu Beast, which sometimes can win games on its own. So yeah, just really good cards that this deck is able to take advantage of. And then for the other level 6, we're going to be playing 1 Brionac. Not much to say. It's Brio. It helps you clear boards to help you OTK more easily. And same goes for Black Rose Dragon. If your opponent, for some reason, sets up a big board but has no protection, Black Rose is great at equalizing it by being able to reset everything and just help you OTK or set up board presence for your next turn. And then after that, we're playing 2 Karakuri Berets. This card's fantastic because it's a Karakuri monster that actually special summons a Karakuri monster from your deck, and it's able to, once per turn, you can change the battle position of 1 monster. So you can switch a monster from attack to defense or from defense to attack, and that in turn allows you to trigger cards such as Beredo, which also special summons from the deck when it's synchro summoned, and once per turn, when a face-up Karakuri monster you control is changed from either from attack to defense or vice versa, you're able to draw 1 card. So yeah, the cards are just very good at pretty much swarming the field and gaining you advantage. So yeah, not much to say, just good cards. And then after that, we play the 1 Stardust Dragon as a staple for most extra decks, along with the 1 Scrap Dragon. Level 8s are very easy to make thanks to instant fusion. So if you ever need to like just get rid of key cards in your opponent's field before you overextend, Scrap Dragon's great. And then lastly, we just play the 1 Trishula because it's Trishula. So that's the deck profile. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you next time. All right, see ya.